Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Ben. I am the community manager for Hell Let Loose, and I am super excited to be here to do our first Q&A, a community Q&A with questions all about our brand new roadmap that has just come out. This just to my left or right, whichever it is, and I'm joined today by some incredible people from our dev team. I'm going to let them all introduce themselves rather than me go ahead and do it. But we've got Craig, Carl, Dan, James, Ian, and Jack all here to talk about Hell Let Loose, about the roadmap, and answer your questions that have come in this week from all of our social medias. I'm going to hand it over to you. Craig, why don't you kick off?
I didn't know it was on yet. Yeah, perfect. Let's start. So, hey guys, yeah, some of you may know me. I'm kind of in everywhere, in all of the Discords. You may not know I'm even there, but likelihood I am there. It is the fact hi, I'm Craig. I'm the producer of Hell Let Loose. I work at Team 17. I have worked in the games industry for around 8 years now, so a long time. Yeah. No, it's great to be here. Again, I think I've done something similar with Raz and Fresh in the past. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more and more of these when possible. I will pass you over to a man who doesn't need an introduction, but he's going to give one anyway. Carl.
Oh, go on then if you insist. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having us today. My name's Carl, and I'm Senior Level Designer on Hell Let Loose. I've been on the project for around 3 years now. I've been in the games industry for about 6 years now, and I still don't know what I'm doing half the time. Now, you may have seen my name on various developer briefings in the past. So I was the lead map designer on Mortain and also at Elsenborn Ridge, and I'm looking forward to discussing the roadmap with you today. I'm going to now pass you on to my colleague, Dan.
Hi there. I'm Dan. I'm an associate art director here at Expression, and I headed the environment art team for Tobruk. I've been in the games industry about as long as there's been a games industry. But when playing Hell Let Loose, I like to play anti-tank because I like to bring the boom. So I'll hand over to who's next? James?
Was it me? Yeah, I'll go. Hi, I'm James. I'm senior producer over here at Expression Games, working on Hell Let Loose. I'm thankful that Dan and Ian are here, so I don't feel as old saying I've been in the industry 17 years. I know you can't believe it. 17 years, so youthful as well. When I play Hell Let Loose, I like to just be an infantry. I like to get told what to do by my officers and commanders. I will pass on over to Ian.
Hey. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Ian. I'm technical art director at Expression Games. And yes, like Dan, I've been in the industry for a very long time. Been working with Hell Let Loose the past 3 years. Joined along with Carl, and it's been great, working on it. And I kind of look after the pipelines and lighting, tactical maps, VFX, all that sort of stuff. And with Hell Let Loose, it's command all the way. And I regularly give Carl a beating every Friday in our playtests.
Thanks for that, Ian.
I'll pass you on to Jenks.
Yeah, hey guys. I'm Jack. I'm a senior game designer on Hell Let Loose. I've been in the industry for about 5 years now. And yeah, usually get battered by Ian as commander in most of the internal PTs that we do. So yeah, that's me.
Amazing. Well, welcome all of you to the streams. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon to talk through some incredible questions. We have got a lot to get through. So without further ado, we're going to crack on with our first question, which does come from our Discord. And it comes from Sam. And it's a question about the timeline for this roadmap. Obviously, this was dubbed as the upcoming roadmap. And Sam would like to know a little bit more about whether this is a 2025 roadmap or how we're going to regard this as a roadmap.
Yeah, I think both myself and James will take this one, I suppose.
Yep.
So yeah, this is the 2025 roadmap. It's for the rest of 2025, as you see that there's some content on there that's already coming out very, very soon. So, for example, Tobruk, some of the changes that have been made to the flamethrower, some of the changes that have been made to precision strike. This is again first steps that we wanted to take, but this content that's on the roadmap is for the entirety of 2025, and it's going to be done in regular drops throughout the year, depending on obviously the type of things that we do. So one update you may see is going to be more armor, one update could be more quality of life, one could be a lot more content. So again, just regular drops with that are a bit bigger than last year, essentially. But James, is there anything you wanted to add on to that?
Yeah, sure. Just with them being bigger drops, we're going to go into a bit of a reduced cadence compared to last year. So last year we put out a lot more updates on the regular, whereas this year we're planning on doing, after Tobruk, another 3 updates. The time between them as well will give us a lot of capacity to do some PTEs of the work that we're doing this year. So if you can, get involved in the PTEs, give us your feedback on them, and yeah, have your say on the future of the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, the PT recently that we had for Tobruk went down really well. It was great to see so many different people participating in it, and it was also great to see some events. I think we actually had our first competitive match that was done, hosted by Das Altberg on Tobruk. So it'd be great to see some more PTs coming in the future. Moving on to our next question then, and that is a question that comes from Soul Sniper, one of our war correspondents, and he asks, what are you going to be doing to my beloved Stalingrad? He is curious as what issues you guys have identified for the map and any changes that you plan to implement to resolve them. Any examples would be amazing.
Yep, sure. So I can start us off with this one. So Stalingrad, as it's affectionately known, my favorite word for it ever. That's brilliant. We are currently looking into the design side of things at the moment. So I've got my brilliant level design team currently sweeping through the map, sweeping all the capture points, making sure that they're balanced, that they're fair, and collating all the community feedback as well. So one of my talented level designers last week was looking through tons and tons of community feedback that's been presented over the years and collated all of that into one helpful resource for us to look at and assess what needs to be changed on the map. So some specific examples, and I recently saw a video by Fresh Baked Goods who highlighted the central capture points as the problem areas in Stalingrad. Couldn't agree more. I actually played Stalingrad last week. I got caught in that central one. It was a disaster, if I'm being honest, but it was a really good match nevertheless. However, I think there are areas on it that we can improve. We will certainly look to do that. And we just want to sweep the map and make sure that everything is as balanced as possible. I know the HQs need looking at as well, and we will absolutely do our best to try and balance those out. We are aware of the hill on the German side that's quite dominant for those central CPs, so addressing that will be a big factor when it comes to reworking the map. Now, with that said, I would like to stipulate that although we are making improvements to the map where necessary, we don't want to change how the map fundamentally plays. We think as a map, it's reasonably well designed in itself. We don't want to change the identity of it too much. It's similar to PHL, where we want to basically improve what's already there in terms of layout, but with an extra step. And I will pass on to Ian to explain what those steps are in terms of performance improvements. Ian?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Carl. So I took a look at Stalingrad sometime last year to kind of just do an overview on how it was put together and to highlight some areas where we've started to kind of get some lag and get some GPU spikes. And one of the things I found that we build up the landscape out of terrain layers, and we usually kind of keep those to a maximum of about 8, so we don't get this sort of big sort of GPU overhead. And we found that there was a lot more than that. So we're going to clean that up a little bit. When you're using scopes or binoculars, we don't get those kind of like large lags. One of the other things I found was that a lot of the large buildings were kind of merged together, which was a good thing to do because there's a lot of buildings to draw, a lot of draw calls. So some of these buildings were merged, but I think some of them were probably merged to a point where we had sort of quite large buildings. I think one of them was about 1.6 million triangles, and it's quite a lot. And with frustum culling, when you're kind of looking around, you just happen to have sort of one corner of that building in view, and it'll just draw the whole thing. So we're going to be tidying those things up really to kind of essentially make it so we don't get too much of this sort of lag that we're sort of experiencing on Stalingrad. Another thing, the roads. I took a look at the meshes for those, and there are quite a lot of kind of thin triangles. So essentially, it was a case of let's remake those roads, keep the whole layout the same, but just remake them so we're not having to kind of draw lots of tiny triangles, which again contributes to a lot of GPU overhead. I think in terms of overdraw, we found that there are a lot of buildings that were kind of shoved halfway through the terrain. I think some of our players would have probably noticed that there's a lot of stuff underneath the terrain as well, and we're going to be sort of cleaning that up. So we're not essentially making big changes or anything like that. We just want to kind of clean up what's there and make things run a bit more efficiently in terms of sort of how we approach it really. So I believe Dan has something to say on it as well, but from the technical art, that was the whole thing that we wanted to kind of do with it.
Yeah, for sure. Just to add to that, once we've got on top of the performance issues, then we want to just give it a layer of polish, freshen up. That'll be trying to add some more drama to certain bits. It will be addressing some of the legacy assets where possible, tidying up some of the old brick piles and improving the textures. We'll like to actually make a few unique assets, add those where we can, something unique to Stalingrad, and then just get it a bit more dramatic in places. Try and make it so that each of the checkpoints looks different to each other where we can. Just get a bit of drama in with some smoke and fire and effects and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you much for everybody. I can see lots of people in the chat commenting on what you guys have been saying. Fresh appreciated the shout out a little bit earlier. I can see Mandible Jones saying this all sounds really good. We look forward to the optimization, and likewise myself, I think we're all really looking forward to seeing this refresh come into effect. Next up, we are going to be having a question from Mr. Kido, and that is going to be about the Eastern Front. Would you be able to share a little bit more information about what this new map on the Eastern Front is, or maybe when it's going to be set? I can see Craig shaking his head here.
Hopefully Carl doesn't say too much.
Yeah, I can feel this, absolutely. Thanks for the question. I anticipate a lot of speculation about this map. I have seen the suggestions. They're really interesting on what that map might be. There are a couple of things I would like to confirm that it's not at this point, and there are several reasons for that. One is that we can confirm that this time it will not be Berlin. I think a lot of people might agree with this, some might disagree, but for us as a live service in the genre that we have, we feel that Berlin might be the ultimate swan song for Hell Let Loose, potentially. So we're looking we do have it in our minds. We do think it would be a great map. There are ways we could make it into a map and it would be fantastic. But for the time being, it's definitely not Berlin. Another one that I can safely roll out is Moscow itself. Few historians out there, you'll know that the Germans did not, in fact, reach the city in the initial campaign. So for us to create a completely fictional battlefield wouldn't sort of lend itself to what Hell Let Loose is. So I think for the time being, at least, we can definitely rule Moscow out as well. What I can say, however, and make of this what you will, I can confirm that the map will be set in 1943. And I can confirm that the map will be set in the summertime. Now, there is a big gap in what the Soviets currently have map-wise. So this will not be a map that's like Kharkov, for example. It will not have wide open areas. I can confirm this will be quite urban because we feel there's a real need in the market for an urban Eastern Front map. So I'm happy to announce that that is the case. I have seen. Oh, one final thing on that. This map has been requested several times already. So feel free to come through your Discord suggestions. Have a think about what it might be based on that. We'll have a. What we'll do is we'll have a PTE much earlier as well this time. So we'll do something we've never done before with the Hell Let Loose map. We'll get it to a reasonable state that we're happy for players to play it. It will be functional. It will be rough around the edges, of course, but we feel that it's important to get you guys involved in the way that we create maps. So it's no use to us sending a map out to a PTE a few weeks before it's due to come out and then rush to have to fix certain design elements, balance and things like that. So I'm very keen in this process to get you guys in early, test out the capture points, give us feedback on everything you see. It will be super rough, it will be super ugly, but hopefully you'll have a great time and look forward to your feedback for iterating further in the future. Does anybody else have anything to add to this?
Oh, go on, Craig, you go.
No, I was going to say, just for everyone's peace of mind, is I think we can all agree that we really enjoyed the play test that we did on Tobruk. Even at this early stages, I think I don't want to say the name. We've even more enjoyed these play tests for the next map as well. I think that's probably fair to say.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, I can see a lot of people in the chat right now. So many suggestions going on. I think that people are very excited to see what this is. We're all excited to share what it is going to be with you. As I do move on to another question that, again, I have seen a lot of in the chat and on social media and pretty much everywhere. And I think that probably quite a lot of people might be anticipating what this is going to be. This has come from everyone. Where is the Pacific Theatre? Craig,
this is going to be two. This is going to be a few of us. Yeah, I suppose this is going to be me and Carl, maybe. Pacific Theatre comes up a lot. It's on everyone's mind. It's on our mind. It's on everyone at Expression's mind. Everyone at Team 17's mind. Everyone on the player side mind. Where's Pacific Theatre? I think from my perspective, the Pacific Theatre should happen, but it needs to be done correctly. And I think I've said this last time that Raz asked it, last time that Fresh asked it, is it's all well and good as making a map, but the Pacific Theatre is way more than just a map. It is way more than just, here's a new map and here's some new guns. There's so much more that fundamentally needs to change in Hell Let Loose for us to do it correctly. And if we were to do it, in my opinion, it needs to be done correctly. So that is kind of where I want to leave it at night. My point is, it's on everyone's mind at our side. It's on everyone's mind generally of how we would do it. But it needs to be done fundamentally correctly. I don't want it to be half-baked. And if it was to come out at any point, it needs to be in a state where we can look at it and be all extremely proud of the work that has gone into it to make it as authentic of an experience as feasibly possible. But I think, Carl, you had probably something more to say on that one as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Craig. It's as Craig said, it's definitely been on our mind plenty of times recently. While there are no plans to bring it to Hell Let Loose in 2025, we will absolutely revisit the idea in the future. I believe we need to make sure our team is strong for that first. We've if I'm being honest, we've got 35 developers plus support teams. Now, to put that into context, creating all that content is a massive undertaking. It's an undertaking that we're willing to rise to, but we've just got to frame it in the right way. We've got to make sure that we're ready and in a position of strength to do it so that you guys get the best possible front that we can deliver, because you deserve it. Anybody else care to weigh in on that?
Oh, I think you covered it.
Looks like it's been covered. So that is Pacific answered for everybody. We are now going to jump on to another question. And the next few are going to be around about a bit like the Pacific question about content that could come in the future. And the first one of that is going to be about Danzig. It comes from Rojim, who asks, when will the defense of Danzig be added? It was promised on an old roadmap. People were hyped for the map and a new mode that was supposed to be added.
Sure, I can feel that. I'm getting very nostalgic now, just thinking of Danzig. Yeah, so Danzig it very much still exists as a map. It's in our vault of many maps. I was in the map last week, actually. I'm proud to announce that we are actually bringing a PTE to the community on Danzig. I think there are still things left unanswered from that piece of content. So we would love to get that content in front of you guys and see what you think, because while Danzig itself may not come to Hell Let Loose, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I can't answer that right now. But what I can say is the gameplay of it is certainly something that we could potentially roll out to other maps that are applicable. Danzig is very unique. It's nothing like any Hell Let Loose map we've ever done. I will share some details on that in an upcoming developer briefing. And I'd love to hear what you guys think about what we do with Danzig, whether we go ahead and actually make a full-on Danzig map. How cool would that be? Let's be honest. Or what we do with the mechanics involved in the map. So stay tuned for more info on that one.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Carl. I think we might well be sticking with you for this next question as well. It is a question that comes from Dayman, who asks, are the Canadians in Juno Beach still a possibility? It was apparently mentioned in the past, and it will be good to just get your thoughts on the Canadians in Juno Beach.
Yeah, now I am fully aware that the tactical map was leaked on Juno Beach in the Discord. Craig tries to scare me with that on a regular basis. Yeah, he's looking surprised, but he isn't. Yeah, I'm going to acknowledge this right now. There is a design for Juno Beach. It's playable. It's pretty cool. It's a cool map. Yes, it's a beach landing, but it has a lot of elements that are different to what you'd find in Omaha Beach. And with that in mind, never say never as far as the Canadians is concerned as well. We'd love to represent them. Obviously, the map is not scheduled for release in 2025, and it is certainly not confirmed for 2026 either. But Juno Beach, if the appetite is there for it, then I'd love for us to do it. Yeah, please collate all that feedback, and we'll review as necessary. The map is ready to be developed.
Can I ask, Ben, is Dayman's name a reference to Always Sunny in Philadelphia? If so, I appreciate it.
Answer of the night, man.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I was about to start singing it, but James has gone ahead and done that anyway. Yeah, thank you very much, Dayman, for that question. I believe that Dayman is a Canadian, so is wanting that representation. I can see a lot of people in chat right now looking pretty excited about the potential for more representation in the game. And that leads really lovely into our next question. And that is going to be about, will we ever get the Finnish forces? A question from Remus Pilot. This is obviously an addition to the Axis side, not always playing as the Germans. There'll be some overlap of assets. I know that it was on an old map. There was mention of Finnish forces. It would be great to get your thoughts again. Yeah,
sure. So just like Danzig, Finland lives firmly in my heart as well. It was actually the first map I worked on this project. The tactical map was found for that as well. So I can confirm the map was to be Lena Kamari, which is in the port of Petsamo region at the time. There are no immediate plans again to bring it to Hell Let Loose, but that being said, I'm happy to share some details in future developer briefings about it. We went on some really good explorations with that one because of obviously the balance in between teams would have been radically different for a Hell Let Loose map. I think we were even ready to start prototyping skis versus tanks at one point, which would have been really interesting. I don't know how well that would have gone down, but I'd have absolutely loved to have seen it, especially Ian in the tank. He's just as dangerous as in command. But yeah, so I can firmly say that while Finland isn't currently on the roadmap, we would definitely love to explore it in future, because that initial idea of that roadmap of following the war from 1939 to 1945 would have been really, really strong. And absolutely, like, Finnish representation, new faction in the game, new weapons, new vehicles, new maps would have been fantastic. So again, I'm going to use my diplomatic answer and say never, but it's firmly in our minds quite often. Finland.
Amazing. Anybody else who wants to talk about Finland, or are we finished? Sorry, that was awful. That was awful.
Oh my god.
Oh, that is awful, everyone. But we are going to move on to the next question. I've seen a few people in chat saying, can we get some stuff that's actually about the current roadmap? Obviously, these ones that we've just had just now have been a little bit about maybe future planning or stuff that could come. So we're going to go to a question from Ninja, and that is about new vehicles and how they're going to be implemented. Ninja asks, you're adding new vehicles, but in the past, new vehicles have been brought into the game and ultimately did nothing to affect the overall gameplay. How will these new vehicles be implemented, and what type of vehicle will they be?
Well, I'll jump in on this one. So we're not quite ready to announce what the new vehicle is going to be, but what I will say is we are currently prototyping a new type of tank, which we think will bring some exciting new gameplay opportunities to Hell Let Loose. And again, I keep saying it, we are going to be bringing this to a PTE as soon as we're ready. So you will have a chance to play these new tanks, give you feedback on them, and ultimately let us know what you think and if we're going in the right direction with it. So keep an eye on this space.
There are lots of ideas coming in right now. There are so many ideas coming in chat. There was one question actually I did see on Reddit, which is can we add bicycles as a vehicle? I just thought I might add that one as a fun one that I did see.
I mean,
bicycles were used in the what? They were used.
Yeah, they were.
But it would be such a mean vehicle. It would be a vehicle you would instantly die on. Like, but I'm just imagining on like proxy chat, someone on a bicycle. I'm getting in. I'm going in. Just full darting it past everyone.
Did this come from our QA department by any chance?
Yeah.
On his alt account.
They might well have been.
Get the little bell on the bicycle as well, like the horn. Ding, ding, ding.
The stealth element goes out the window. Amazing. All right, we are going to jump on to the next question. It is going to stick with the vehicle theme, and that is going to be about armor. It comes from one of our tank experts, the Fresh Baked Goods. He asks, can you elaborate on the armor rework? Will we be moving away from a tier system and the heavy meta?
Yeah, I can take this one. So as it stands, obviously there's sort of those three main categories where it's light, medium, heavy, and as it stands, if we introduce a new tank, it's pretty predictable how that tank is going to behave. It's either going to behave like a light, medium, or a heavy. So just on that, for players who play armor a lot, we want to make that experience way more authentic. We are looking at sort of dismantling the current tier system as it stands, and essentially applying individual stats to each of those tanks just to give them a bit more character, make it less predictable. So like the type of stats that we're looking at, things like turret rotation speeds, acceleration speeds, rate of fire for turrets, that sort of thing. It's all the sort of tweakable things that can make tanks a lot more unique and specific to each faction. So yeah, on top of that, there is an idea as well for sort of additional abilities that we can assign to tanks and tank crews. So I can't really go into full detail with those things, but it's a few bits that we're looking at in the background.
I think a good point, just I do want to add on to this, is when it comes to any of these tank changes, like James has said multiple times before, is we're not going to YOLO just do it. It's going to be PTE. We're going to try and get people's opinions in as soon as possible so we can make changes that fundamentally make it work and that you're happy with and the players are happy with.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you very much. Just having a look through some of the questions here. Somebody says, so what's the direction then? Is it still approachable realism? Would you say that's still the best way to describe?
Yeah, I think being sort of linking it to sort of similar real world performance with some of these vehicles is probably the most authentic way that we can try and approach it. Obviously, we've got to add gameplay elements to that, but I think that's a good starting point for just addressing some of the current issues.
Amazing. Next question, we're going to stick with tanks, with armor, and it's going to be a question that comes from Cervix, who asks, possible tank commander rework. Will the commander finally be able to peer out the tank and use his binoculars, or will there be the addition of any abilities such as heavy machine guns or clearing to clear out infantry? Basically, any sort of tank commander reworks that potentially might come into play.
I absolutely think we should try it. Without a doubt, I'm open to suggestions for a lot of things that we want to try this year. this comes under an umbrella of sort of digging into the code base of Hell Let Loose, seeing what we can and can't do, what can we change, what can we improve on. Suggestions like that make me very excited because it fundamentally changes part of the game, right? And we should be looking to innovate. Hell Let Loose is what, 5 years old now? 6 years old? Like, we should be pushing forward. We're in the next generation of games now. So absolutely, ideas like that, keep them coming, and we'll triage them, of course, and see what's feasible, what isn't. Get them prototyped and hopefully out to PT for you guys to test and give us your feedback.
Amazing. Any other questions, thoughts on Tank Commander reworks before I move on to the next one? No, that's perfect, because I am going to move on now to a question about snow camo. This comes from Salty500, who says, will you be adding snow camo vehicles introduced during Elsenborn Ridge into other snow-based maps? And it also goes a little bit with somebody who just mentioned chat. I've just disappeared their name, but they just asked about having more sort of camouflage onto other vehicles as well. Is that something that's in the plans?
So on the snow camo, I would say yes, that's 100% plan. We will be looking to update the Soviet vehicles as soon as possible to roll out that snow camo change to the other snow maps. The reason it hadn't been done in the past, it's a very boring production-based reason, but we didn't have the capacity to do it in time for the release of Elsenborn. But we've got a bit more capacity now, so we will do it, and we will be rolling that out soon. In terms of other camo, I know for the North African front, we've definitely done passes on the vehicles in that to make them more appropriate. We're definitely open to exploring other camo options in the future, where it makes sense and it's suitable for the tanks and the factions.
Amazing. This next question is one that I have been seeing pop up quite a lot, and it is going to be about the artillery rework. I mean, I can see Ginger right now asking, do you plan to add mortars? And that is a question that I think probably will fall quite nicely into, can you give us a little bit more details about what the artillery rework entails, and will mortars be part of it? Thank you, Lion27, for this question.
Yeah, I can take this one, and then if Carl, you want to follow on from me. Yeah, so for this artillery sort of rework, mortars won't be sort of part of this, but I'll steal Carl's sort of saying, never say never. It's obviously something that we see suggested quite a lot. But for this specific feature, reworking artillery, there is a problem with, Recon arty sort of gameplay loops. It's creating sort of like a stale environment, really, where, Recon are sort of forced to do that. And we just want to address that, basically. There's a number of ways that we're sort of looking at the moment. Can't go into full detail with obviously everything, but we are addressing it.
Amazing. Anybody else want to continue?
Yeah, just to follow on from that. So while we're not going to disclose exactly how we're going to do it right now, I've seen quite a few community suggestions that are pretty much in line with our way of thinking about it. So rest assured, we are seeing that feedback and we are taking that on board, because that's pretty much how we were planning on addressing it. I think it'd be really cool, interesting to try. And there are, of course, byproducts of fixing this as well, right? Because, currently you can spawn camp the HQs because of the artillery loop. I can't commit to when we would necessarily address that, but by fixing the artillery, we could also potentially completely nullify that problem in the game, which would be fantastic to see.
Thank you very much. Most people are pretty happy, I think, about nerfing artillery, apart from one person who quite rightly is called Mad Dog, who says, please don't nerf arty. I think the name is pretty apt there. We are going to move on to the next question now, and that is going to be about the resource system. Thank you very much, Wolfgong, for asking. With the new vehicles set to turn the tide of battle and addressed to the artillery meta, are there likely to be any changes to the resource system at all, either in terms of economy or the wider meta?
Did you want to take this one, Carl?
Yeah, sure. So So with the address of the vehicles and how they sort of impact the overall game, just like my previous point, this allows us to take a look at the underlying economy behind the game as well. So if vehicles behave differently in terms of resources, there are ways that we can address the economy potentially. We can lean into potential sort of RTS elements that the game doesn't always explain very well. It gives us so many options to explore that we absolutely want to do it. We're, again, like everything else, happy to prototype it, happy to get it out to PTE, happy to get your feedback. And if you guys love it, we'll roll it out. Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, the next question is one that has been on the minds of a lot of people. So, I mean, I think we had Camping, Out Clan, Soul Sniper. Many people in the chat here have been asking, how are you planning to rework medics and what is the goal?
Yeah, so on that one, the poor medic role, bless it, it needs some attention, it needs some love. Currently when someone gets wounded, it's just the strategy is just to redeploy. You get everything sort of given back to you, equipment, ammunition, all that sort of thing. We want to kind of address that. The way that I'm sort of approaching it currently is sort of like a 3-angle thing. The first angle is just looking at the current stats of the medic and seeing how we can change existing parameters just to see what we can tweak in its current form just to improve, sort of just day-to-day medic roles, basically. This is stuff like, just tweaking the loadouts, adding a little bit more ammunition, changing, maybe increasing revive speeds, that sort of thing. So just using everything at our disposal to see how we can improve that sort of side of things. The second thing is adding potentially sort of new abilities to existing things. So an example of that would be obviously the medic box. An idea was sort of like, floated around where we can maybe use it in a similar way to how you get sort of buffs from being within nodes and that sort of thing. Being within a medic box maybe just can prevent people from just, respawning instead of waiting for a revive. We want to just encourage players to try and hang on so that the medic can actually do its job. Another idea with that is, a communication system just to say the medic is on his way. We know there's like a radius to proximity chat, and you won't necessarily hear a medic that's saying that they're on their way to you, and then you can just you just end up giving up. So maybe something to confirm that a medic is on his way to you and he's going to come and revive you, sort of thing. The third sort of angle that we're looking at it from is a bit more holistic, where we're looking at how we can improve the gameplay of other players to ensure that the medic has a better time as well. So whether that's like essentially rewarding longer lifespans and that sort of thing, just to give people a reason to hang in there for the medic to get to them. So there's a bunch of different angles that we're looking at, but yeah, it's going to get some well-deserved love and attention, I think.
I mean, I can see quite a few suggestions coming through in chat here. Clanky Clanker says, what about the medics getting more health? Tenacious D says, what about a better gun for medics? And then Sam's also asking something here about, do you have any plans for making dying and ammunition more impactful on the front line? Persistent ammo maybe to carry from one life into the next as a reason to maybe wait for the medic.
Yeah, it's certainly something. I mean, obviously, reviving with potentially more not more ammunition, but maybe a slight replenishment or just replenishment upon revival. There's a bunch of ideas that we can sort of throw around and obviously test, and we'll PTE a lot of these as well. It's not just going to be something we're going to throw in and claim that it's fixed. It's we want to take the community with us and help guide us on this one.
Amazing. I hope that people who enjoy the medics, I know that Craig is a big medic fan, so I know that he is going to be extremely excited, along with many other people here in the chat tonight and who will be playing. Next question is another rework one. It's one that I have seen a lot here this evening, and that is going to be about bipods. This is a question that's come from Teeny Weenie, who asks, with the bipod rework, will you guys be adding bipods to the FG42 and the bar, or any other plans for bipod reworks?
Muted, James.
James, yep.
Sorry, I'm muted there. Hardware muted. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'll grab this one here. So There's a couple of stages to the answer on this one. Ultimately, yes, we would like to bring the ability to deploy on the FG42 in the bar. I can't say when that's going to be done, or if it'll be done in time for the Bipod rework that gets released. There's a couple of reasons why on that. We need to address the models, we need to make sure we've got the animations for it, but the main reason on it really is making sure that when we do allow these weapons to be deployable, they are balanced and fair. They are powerful weapons, and adding the ability to deploy on them has the potential to affect the balancing of the game. So when we do bring it, we want to make sure it's fair and it works within the current game balance. So as always, it's becoming a bit of a catchphrase now, but we will be PTEing it when it's ready. And we want to hear your feedback on it. But I can't guarantee that it will be done in time for the Bipod rework. We will definitely try to get it done within 2025. That's what I will say. But I'm not making any promises on that right now.
Amazing. Anybody else want to chime in about bipods at all?
I will just on the subject of the Bipod rework as well. The plan is for that to try and make it more robust and work as players would expect. So you're able to deploy where you'd expect to deploy. You'd be able to move the guns in all the directions you'd expect to be able to move it. I know there's some issues with it getting stuck on some of the environment or not having the full field of view, being able to look around. So that's very much the intention of the Bipod rework, is just make it more robust than as players would expect it to be.
I think it's again making it. I think the biggest thing as well, James, and I don't know if you agree with me on this one, mate, is we have so many issues with it at the moment, even when making new maps, because it was like we have to make things with the current bipod system in mind. So by reworking it, it's going to make our lives a lot easier when making new maps, because we don't have to keep that in the back of our minds constantly.
Yeah, I mean that's the real reason we're doing it, to make our lives easier. No, we're doing it because we want to make it better for the players.
I'm guessing. Well, I can see here Tim asking, will this include trying to aim the bipod out of windows? Is that? I'm guessing that'll be part of the rework.
I mean, we'd have to. Does it not deploy out of all windows at the moment? Is it window dependent?
Tim has asked here where you have to deploy a bunch of times to get the aiming out of windows right.
Yeah, so that's kind of what the rework is. Sorry, the rework is to make it more consistent, to make it work as you would expect it to work. So the aim out of windows, is an issue, because if, say, there's a sandbag in front of a window at the moment, it could deploy on the sandbag, which you wouldn't expect it to do, and it's really janked in that sense. So the case that we want to do is to make it consistent, and where you expect to be a bipod to be placed down is where it gets placed down. It's not, you want it to be deployed on this table over here. It's like, no, you clearly know what I'm looking at. Work how I would expect it to work.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for answering that. We are now going to be moving on to a question from somebody I have seen in chat, and it's going to be from Mandible Jones, who asks, will there be any plans to add anti-tank structures to the Soviet engineer class? Currently, they're the only faction without them.
Yeah, I think in the interest of balance, we should absolutely look into that. There are no confirmed plans to do that, but I think I personally enjoy engineer. It's one of my favorite classes. I love chilling when you're defending a point while everything's kicking off up north. I'm just sat back building me barbed wire. I think it's brilliant. But yeah, that is a genuine issue to me. I think it should be balanced, and we will absolutely explore our options with that. I think I'll take a look at it at some point this year, see what we can do with it, get a spec out for it, and maybe next year we'll prototype it and get out to PTE. See what you guys think.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Carl. Next question. We're going to be moving on to one from T-Bone, who asks, will thematic uniform DLCs be worked for current maps and factions in the game, or only for the new maps? He has obviously seen the Desert Rat and is wondering about the thematic uniform.
Yeah, I'll take this one. So, I mean, yes, we do make new DLC specifically for the new maps that we make, because it's always nice to, when we make a new map, look at the people, the factions, the people again that fought in that battle and make a DLC based around that. Like I think when we were looking at Tobruk again, we knew that the long range desert group was going to be one that we really wanted to do because it was something unique and it was thematically correct for that battle itself. But we don't only make we won't only make new uniforms for the new maps. That's yeah. We'll be looking at other factions, other. I want the best way to word this would be other uniforms that are underrepresented in Hell Let Loose and underrepresented in the space in general, this military space that we live in general, and making sure we can get as many out as possible to make it as good as possible. But to answer the question generally, is there will always be new DLCs specifically tied to a new map when it comes out and when it's ready, and that is just because it's again part of the story that we're telling, to get as many of those different people in there as possible. But again, we're going back and looking at German, US, Soviets, all the existing areas, and thinking what military factions or what uniforms are not currently in the game that should be required to be in the game for authenticity reasons.
Amazing. Anybody else want to chime in regarding DLCs at all? Doesn't look like it. So we are going to move on to the next question. And that comes from Metal. And it's, are there any plans for any sort of modding, a map creator or a way for the community to do some type of modding on the map itself?
Currently, there's no plans for a map creator for Hell Let Loose. That doesn't mean we'll never do it. It's just not currently something that we're looking at. If it's something that you want, as always, request it on our Discord or Reddit, wherever you post. What I will say though is we do see the value in allowing the community to make custom experiences within Hell Let Loose, which is why this year we're going to be rolling out some new options to our server owners to allow some bespoke gameplay scenarios at a server level. I can't say what all those options are going to be, but we would like to roll out a questionnaire soon to try and feel people's opinions on that, what kind of thing you would like to see as custom options on different servers. And yeah, we'd love to bring that to Hell Let Loose soon.
Amazing. Next question is one that has come from the roadmap, and that is going to be about, can you elaborate on some of the specific items that you're focusing on from VFX and SFX?
Yeah, sure. So we've got quite a few improvements that we want to make, the VFX in general. We've been doing some already and implementing them in the newer maps. The fire VFX behavior is one of them. We've been updating those in all our new maps, and also we'll take the opportunity to refresh, because we want to sort of essentially update everything with regards to the VFX in that map, particularly the fire on the trees and a few other sort of instances of like sort of the smoke. We want to get a lot more atmosphere in that map. But we are also looking at a kind of wish list from the community. So we'll be looking towards any kind of community feedback on VFX. I know that there's a big one that's been called out, which is the a few of the explosions, particularly the vehicle ones, look very sort of 2D, and we want to sort of take a look at those, because there are some VFX that we found that they're very sort of voluminous, very 3D, and then you have other ones where it's kind of like sort of quite flat, and it's like there's a bit of a sort of disconnect. So we want to sort of bring some consistency, and one of my TA members, he is very much into his VFX, and he is going to be looking forward to doing lots more explosions. So Yes, that's pretty much sort of what we have in mind. But yeah, key thing will be listening to feedback from the community. Getting everyone's opinions on sort of what improvements they would like to see as well. Because we can roll it in. We've not started yet, so it's a good chance to get your thoughts heard.
Regarding, obviously, that was a lot of the VFX. Was there anything that we could share about the sound effects at this stage?
I'll jump in here on this one. I am not a sound guy. I can say that as part of the armor system rework, we're going to be doing a pass on the tanks audio just to bring that up in quality a bit. We'd like to look at some of the victory songs, and we'd also like to look at some of the environmental and ambient sound effects throughout the maps as well.
Yeah, I think because Fresh is going to say it in the chat, and I can already see it. I haven't got the stream open at the moment, but I can see the thing already in there, which is from Fresh and Raz, most likely talking about the whistle ricochet as well when it comes to ricocheting off of a tank. So, like James said, tank audio is on that list, and Rich has already received your feedback for the whistle effect when the shell ricochets off of the hull.
They seem extremely happy about that from the from the chat as I'm looking in. Brilliant. Next up, there's been a lot of questions been coming in as this has been going through, just around about a lot of the technical side of things. So these next couple questions will be about those quality of life and technical upgrades that we're potentially going to be seeing. So the first one comes from Dutch Let Loose, and it's will we be getting an update for the bushes, trees, power lines, trains, tracks, windows, and other sort of in-game assets that are flickering from a distance?
Yeah, sure. I'll answer that. It's a great name as well. I like it. Yeah, there's potential for the rework. There's already been some done already with regards to a lot of the trees and bushes that we've implemented throughout the newer maps. So a lot of those tree assets have been reworked. Particularly regarding the LODs as well, how they kind of like sort of transition. We've kind of smoothed out a lot of those transitions. It also means that when we do this, to go to the older maps, we'll have to kind of be quite considerate as to which elements we kind of update in those maps as well. We want to just make sure that everything's still consistent with how it kind of sort of feels. So we will be going through a few of the older maps and looking to replace some of the trees and bushes that we've updated and improving that sort of visual look. In regards to the train tracks, that's probably one that will probably require a little bit more rework. I think it's just the nature of how those kind of assets appear when they get to sort of a lot that's further out, because of the nature of the horizontal lines and the vertical lines. You can just get quite a lot of visual interference. So it's to kind of get over that flickering. We'll probably have to kind of take a look at how that model looks at that distance, and probably just reauthor part of it just to kind of sort of improve it. Same with the windows as well, because of the nature of the windows being quite harsh in contrast. Sort of a lot of them are kind of white frames against black kind of windows or dark windows. So naturally, when they get to a point where there are a few pixels on the screen, we'll probably get a little bit of flicker there. So I think in terms of that, we'll have to have a look at those kind of last LODs and look at improving the kind of way that the contrast works, because it's difficult to kind of like sort of just do it with the model and then expect it to kind of sort of work in terms of how the pixels kind of flicker between sort of light and dark. So it'll be a case of probably stripping out that part of that model and flattening out the contrast, so we don't get that sort of intense flicker. With the power lines, there's one for me to have a look at because I've not really kind of looked at that one yet. We've improved the power lines in the latest map because we wanted to kind of make it sort of easier to kind of implement, and I think we've made some improvements with the way that the lines look. But yeah, with the power lines as they are at the moment, we'd have to take a look at how bad the flickering is to work out the best sort of way of approaching it.
I can see a lot of people just messaging. I'm just going to add one more onto that, and that's just going to be about wheat fields. Is there anything in particular about wheat fields as well?
Yeah, I think again that's an asset that's got quite a lot of harsh contrast. So it could be a case of reworking those assets so we don't get that contrast that happens when an asset gets like sort of really tiny, and just to kind of reduce that kind of light dark contrast, which contributes to the kind of visual interference.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ian. Next question, we're going to be sticking with some quality of life improvements, and that is going to be a question from Nico here. For quality of life improvements, can we expect better rendering distances and FPF performance?
I'll take this one. Yeah. So previously and Ian, please correct me if I'm wrong here, we previously prototyped different ways to improve lodding and items popping in, even back on Mortan, which, if I remember what the fix was specifically, it was essentially pausing the LOD when you zoom in with a weapon. Ian's nodding, so I'm correct there. And that effectively is really assisted with you shouldn't see it as egregiously in Mortain or compared to other maps, compared to older maps that weren't created by the team. Expression. So again, prototyping that out has proved that that's a system that can work. So we can again look at moving that system onto other maps. The reason we didn't was time, because to do that correctly, which we always try and do, we needed to ensure that you didn't get any huge lag spikes, anything like that. So the time for the QA department to go back and test every single variant of every single map to make sure that we weren't making any huge performance issues, it just wasn't feasible at the time. But again, looking at where we can make those improvements and maybe potentially pulling that fix into other older existing maps. But even with as update 17, we're looking at ways that we can improve player performance and get those kind of really important additional frames back. At the end of the day, it's almost like a fine line between what we can do to make the visual fidelity as good as possible without causing really bad performance issues. So we're trying to go against that line. It's a fine line to cross. One of the ones things that we are testing on update 17 as well is animation lodding. So I don't know if Ian, please correct me if I'm wrong with the explanation here again, but effectively the distance in which animations lodded out or lodded generally was non-existent. So we're adding a little bit of buffer there, so it kind of lods a little bit depending on the distance. So again, we've noticed that we do get drastic or some framing improvements back already just with that change. And again, we'll be doing everything that we can, as we do every single update, to improve performance throughout the rest of this year, not just on the new maps, but looking at what we can do on existing maps as well. If anyone else wanted to add on to that, though.
Yeah, sure. With regards to the kind of pause LODs that we're doing, essentially, what we're doing is because of the LOD system and how it kind of works, drawing smaller, triangle models as you get sort of further away. When you ADS, you do see that change quite sort of clearly. You don't see it when you go to scope or go to binoculars because there's like a kind of just a minor gap between where you're seeing the full model and then another model. So yeah, the ADS one was one where we basically paused the LOD, so you could see, that you didn't see that crossover, and that depends on, as well as performance, having sort of work with as well. So some of the grass models or the tree models, we'll probably have to kind of rework. The ones in more tan work better because we kind of remade a lot of the trees. So we had that in mind when we were kind of looking at this ADS issue. But it's something that I've been testing with code in a lot of the legacy maps, and I think there's a possibility that we can get that working with very little impact on performance as well.
Obviously, talking about potentially reworking or redesigning some of those assets. I know that sort of Dan from the art team. It'd be good to just sort of get your thoughts on sort of the different when you're sort of designing that art, potentially between that difference between sort of the stylized or the realistic art. It'd be great to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, the Hell Let Loose is prides itself on its realism, and it's something that we really want to develop. We really want to own that. We don't want to go too stylized. We don't want to go too like hyper Battlefront. At the same time, you don't want every day to be a dull, overcast day in Manchester. You want it to it's got to look dramatic and interesting still. So I like to sort of go with like an exaggerated realism. So you can still have big contrasts between bright blue skies and filthy black smoke and that kind of thing. Does that answer your question?
It does indeed. As we are going to be going on to penultimate question here, and that is going to be about Omaha Beach from Free Party. Omaha Beach is one of the most iconic maps of the historical period represented in Hell Let Loose, but it currently seems to be rarely played. Are there any plans to making it more appealing to players, perhaps rebalancing, map design adjustments, or specific incentives in game modes?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It is an iconic map and it should be played more. I think the first part of call on this one is to gain an understanding from the community about why it's not being played as much. It would be interesting to hear from server owners. It'd be interesting to hear from war correspondents and the community at large as well. What are your thoughts on why you wouldn't necessarily include Omaha in your rotation? From a level design point of view, we can absolutely take a look at that. It may benefit from a map refresh treatment. That's an avenue we could certainly explore. We could also take a look at the hard cap placements. I know it's quite difficult by design because obviously it's not just a made up map. In the narrative, it was difficult for the US landing on that beach, and it's important to respect and represent that. But I also appreciate that doesn't always necessarily translate to good gameplay. So absolutely open to taking a look at it. Yeah. I think with this one specifically, if we could collate that feedback somewhere, get this over to us, and I could personally take a look at it at some point this year.
I mean, that goes really nicely onto the final question, which is going to come from myself. And that is just going to be about the community suggestions and how is it that the dev team currently utilize community suggestions and feedback? And as we move forward, what is the best way for the community to share their feedback and get their ideas over to the team in the best way possible?
Yeah. Let me take this.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll start first. I'm going to say respectfully, and then I'm going to walk. No. So yeah, I think as a team, we're really bad at this and really good because we shouldn't do it as much as we do, but we often daily, every hour, look at Discord, look at Reddit, look at YouTube, watch any video as it comes up. We have a chat on our side where as soon as anyone has posted a YouTube video, I've almost got a lot of people like subscribed and notifications turned on so I can see what's going on. So as soon as we release the 2025 roadmap, I watched about 10 videos just specifically about it within like the space of an hour. So always, I think YouTube, Reddit, Discord, everything like that are prominent, and we'll read it. I think and we often have discussions. We just send links to different threads between the team, so we know what is and isn't being discussed, and what we can and shouldn't do with the game. Getting the information directly from war correspondents as well. Raz, Fresh, Soul Sniper, Mandible, every kind of like all the war correspondents that we have on our team is really good, because what they do is they funnel the information really well, like superbly well, from what their communities are saying into nice bite-sized bits of information that we can hold and understand a lot easier. When there is something that's being said in Discord, it's sometimes difficult to understand, especially in like the mess hall, if it's just a lot of text coming through at the same time. So what the war correspondents do really well is basically dumbify it down for us in some cases almost, and make it easier for us to digest and go, this is what the masses are saying and not just what individuals are saying. I personally, this is what I would suggest is Discord threads, creating threads about what you think would work or what you want to see and what what the direction you want Hell Let Loose to go. And then based on the popularity and the traction that gets, it gets to us a lot easier, and we can kind of understand what the masses are saying versus what one person says. What is really difficult working in games development is effectively that, is understanding what is an issue for multiple people versus one person. So again, if you see a thread that you 100% agree with on Discord, interact with it and say, yeah, I agree with this, because then it gets to us a lot sooner. We see the hundreds and thousands of people talking about this, not just a singular person. Because if we did every change that every person wanted, the game would be a mess. It would be so bad. Because if some people want that artillery rework, some people want it to be a commander ability, some people want it to have set ammo. There's so many things that people want, but it's what do the masses want, and we should always try and take what the masses want and then modify and work with that information. Yeah, but James, sorry, I'll pass it on to you. I kind of waffled for a bit there, mate.
No, that's all right. You waffle away. I would add on to that definitely get involved in our PTEs when we put them live. Respond to questionnaires. They're invaluable to us. The information we gather from those PTEs. So get involved in as many as you have spare time to do. I'd also say that, I'd like to say that large portions of the 2025 roadmap have been driven by things that we've seen the community requesting and asking for across all our channels. So we do listen. We do check all those channels. We're watching our war correspondents. Shout out to Das Altberg. Yeah, we watch everything though. So keep posting in Discord, Reddit, respond to the forums on the PTEs, and we will keep listening.
Amazing.
As long as it's respectful. That's all. I don't want to go and I really hate that Craig guy. He's such a.
That was from me, Craig. Sorry.
It's honestly, half of the time I'm like, oh, I feel like Carl's just got 20 alt accounts just to roast individuals.
That's why I don't get any work done, Craig. I'm too busy with something new.
I can see Mandible here saying Craig fan club win. So it does look like it's going to be positive. And I'd like to say thank you so much for all of you being here this evening. Not just to, obviously, you six who have been answering some great questions, but also to everybody who's turned up in chat. Some people, though, have been asking, why are we not answering everything that's on the roadmap? Why have we not got any information, for instance, on Tobruk or some of the changes that might be coming a little bit sooner? And that is because we are actually going to be back next Friday with another community Q&A. This is going to be all about Tobruk, all about this next update that's coming. So we're going to be launching another community Q&A channel in the Discord. We'll also be popping one up on Reddit as well. So if you've got any questions regarding Tobruk, feel free to add pop them into there, and we will be answering them as best we can next week. it's going to be obviously myself back here hosting. I'm not sure exactly who we're going to be having, but we might see some new faces even from the development team. But in the meantime, thank you so much, everyone.
Ben,
yes.
sorry, just to interject.
Absolutely.
We've had some live questions. If everybody's got time, should we stay on a bit and answer a few live questions? Why not?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh,
literally-
God. Oh, God.
I'm just taking
charge.
taking charge of this session.
Oh, no,
So one that did come up that I noticed, which was interesting. Apologies, I didn't catch the user who sent it, but somebody asked if they could play games with us. Now, I think that's a really cool idea. It's something we definitely love to explore. I think what we could do with that is say we'll schedule some regular times to play on retail servers. We'll make ourselves known. We'll use the tag, one of their clan tags. We'll push the details out to the community, and we'll join you for a couple of games.
If I
Why
could
not?
interject, Carl. If I could interject, mate.
No, you're not allowed.
Not allowed. No. What I think was a really cool idea, and it came from it was either Fresh or Raz, was war correspondence versus devs,
Oh, I'd love
and
that.
do like and then we'll actually show our true metal.
Yeah,
But we'll throw out the
not right, is
trash,
it?
right? Well, no, we'll throw out the trash, right? And we'll have like just those guys, and we'll get some ringers. We'll get some proper heavy ringers on our side, and do something like that would be really cool. I think that'd be something for Ben to organise potentially, and see if we can absolutely just annihilate everyone.
But yeah, from
What-
our side, we absolutely should be playing with the community more and
Yeah.
make ourselves known. The PTE is also a good time to do that because we know when they're coming out. So why not, right?
I can see here, Mailbox says that I want to play with Dan. So, Dan, you've got to get involved.
Don't want to play with Dan.
Don't worry, I'll get my bazooka ready.
Anti-tank specialist. It's going to be great. Are there any other questions which you guys have noticed in the chat? Or if there's any which are going to quickly come through now that you'd like to answer?
Fire if you're aware, we've got some time.
Chat, add some in. I'll let you go if you've seen something already, though.
I like the. Is there any questions on beards and facial hair that's coming in the next update? That's what I care about. Is a lot of facial hair, a lot of beards.
A lot of beards, a lot of facial hair. Nothing there. There's a balanced artillery. We've mentioned about the artillery already. Can we make it so that we can pick up support boxes in case we drop it too close for a Gary/node?
I'd like to try that. I think we should try that.
Yeah, why not? Let's prototype it.
Get a suggestion in. We'll prototype it. See what people think.
No,
I think it makes sense. As an engineer/support player, I think it's. I've had instances sometimes where I've put supplies down and thought, shouldn't have done that. That's me being polite to myself. But yeah, to pick them back up again, why not? Absolutely. Let's try it.
Amazing. Question here from Sam. Will the squad leaders ever be able to manage their squads while they're alive? For instance, changing designation, kicking the squad members out without the requirement to be dead or on the deployment screen?
Wholeheartedly agree. We should be able to try that. Absolutely. We can't guarantee with the current code base that it would work. We'd have to speak to our engineering department to see what we can do. But I think we should try that as well. This is a year of trying for Hell Let Loose.
I swear we prototyped something like that though, Carl. Right on the pause screen.
Potentially.
Am I wrong? I swear we prototyped that exact thing.
I don't even know what month it is, Craig. Probably. But no, absolutely. Like I was saying, this is a year for trying new stuff for Hell Let Loose. We've got to innovate the game, and if that's what people want, let's see if we can triage it and try it.
Amazing. Next question here comes from Zeres, I think. They ask about console PTEs. I know there's obviously something at the moment we have with the PC and the Steam community. Is there any possibility of console PTEs? And if not, what are the issues around it?
I feel like this is directed at me.
This is, yeah.
This is all you, Craig.
Yeah. So, yes, console PTEs are something that people have been asking for a while, and I have got to a point where I can physically get them on Xbox. And in all honesty, I would like to do it for all platforms. It's just there's not a facility for each platform holder that offers it. So for Microsoft, they have their Insider program, which we utilize for the console server browser, which meant that when we did do the console server browser, it went out, in my opinion, pretty damn smoothly because we were able to PTE using the Xbox Insider program ahead of time. I want to be able to. We can use that more often, and it's not a lot of work at all for us to do it. The difference with using something like Steam's and Valve's is that we can turn it on and off really quickly. There's no submission process. There's nothing that we need to do in terms of get something to them X amount of days before. It can just be on the day we can put a build there and it will work. Consoles are a little bit different. Xbox specifically is a little bit different. There is a process that we need to follow for it to work, which is doable and it's completely achievable, and something that we've already brought up as part of my tasks for this year anyway. Unfortunately, there isn't anything specifically that we've been called out on Sony's side. With that being said, I have messaged and talked to members of my team who deal directly with Sony about what we can do, because I agree it's not. I would really like to get all the console players in them as much as possible to test and to play test early versions of the game.
I guess sort of continuing with the console questions, there was one that popped in earlier. Are the updates that we've obviously been mentioned on the roadmap, are they going to be coming at the same time on PC as on console?
Yeah, we did a lot of work last year on making sure that each change list and each version of the game were parity. There was such a long discrepancy previously where the console version was 6 months out of date. As soon as James and the Expression team and everyone like that, we came on board and took it sorted, it was kind of the first part of call is that's not fair, that's not right. Let's make sure that all players playing Hell Let Loose get the same exact experience as each other. Similar with console server browser, we saw that's a huge difference, and we need to make sure that they get the exact same or as close to the same experience as the PC players. So yes, at no point will we intentionally have the console version being on the older change list to the PC change list. The only case that I can see that ever happening is if there's a PC specific issue that we needed to hotfix for whatever reason. That's the only thing that I could see.
Amazing. Next question. It comes from Poison Strudel, and I'm so basically it's about the flamethrower range increase and volumetric flame particles. Although obviously this is on the roadmap, it is going to be coming, I believe, as part of the Tobruk launch. So rather than answering it right now, I'm going to once again remind everybody, next Friday, come back and come to the Tobruk community Q&A, and we'll be sure to answer some more questions regarding the flamethrower. As I move on, we're going to see here, somebody says, Clink asks, are there any plans to get involved in the competitive scene?
Oh, careful what you wish for with that one, especially with Commander Ian Williams on the loose.
I think in terms of support, I guess this is one that I can probably answer. I know that myself as a community manager would definitely like to try and do a little bit more to sort of support the competitive scene in some capacity. It's something which I'm speaking about internally about how we can potentially do more to support the competitive scene, but what currently is out there is incredible to see what the community does in this competitive space. Actually, I don't know if any of the team here have got involved or watched any of the competitive scene at all. Craig, I can see nodding his head. Jack as well.
I mean, I watch it all the time. We've got Raz's tank battles. We have like a ton of like the clan matches that are really cool to watch.
So good.
I usually watch them like just while I'm eating dinner, just put them on TV. It's so long. And it's the dramatic effect. I think there was one which was called out in the last tank battle I watched. Where there was two tanks just really ridiculously like close to each other, and like they don't know each other, they don't know that each other are there. Like, what's going on? And you just like, I wish there was more esports. I miss those days.
100%. Yeah, I think that for a fact, I've already mentioned that I want to try and get involved in a little bit of the casting of some of the competitive stuff. So for those of you, if you do like the sound of my voice, you might hear me on potentially some casting alongside a few of our competitive games. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking through here, we've got a question here about input-based crossplay.
would be if you have a mouse and keyboard plugged into your console. That I assume is the question there, which is, how do I answer this correctly? Is PC console crossplay feasible? Yes. Is it the right thing to do? Would be difficult to say because of how it currently works. Like a controller player and a PC player are completely different in terms of the long range shots, things like that. It is 100% feasible to happen, especially since we've done all the console server browser stuff. You can't really differentiate console wise that if someone's playing on a mouse and keyboard that they'll get placed into the servers because of how the game is set up. There's no quick play on PC, for example, and the server browser on console is slightly different to the one on PC. It's the best way of answering it, probably. So it's not something that's currently on the map. Is it feasible? Yes. But there's reasons not to do it as well.
That's completely fair enough. Next question comes from Jackosaurus, who goes, mini map for drivers when?
Interesting.
Love that. My driving sucks.
Jack, I'm going to leave you alone today. I'm not going to mention anything about
I've got
driving.
an unearned reputation for being a bad driver in Hell Let Loose. It's
Unearned,
just
he
not
says. Unearned.
completely unearned. I could probably do with that, yeah. Like a little map. Hold that in front of me, yeah.
Just like of the times, just like a full map that the driver's holding. Amazing. Just having a look, see if there's any other ones. I don't know if you guys have got the chat open, if there's been any that you've seen.
I just want to quickly shout out Uncle Buck. You seem great too, mate.
You're not using your alt accounts again, James, and just typing messages to yourself. I'm not a sociopath. I can't read the chat. I'm too scared. I'm too scared of what people say. Said the same thing in the
Say
Raz and
nothing
Fresh
but lovely things about you, Craig. That's
No,
what the
I did the
chat's
same
saying.
thing, and I didn't rewatch Raz and Fresh's podcast and to look at that chat. I'm not going to start now. It's,
We've got somebody called Fat Slacks here who says, any chance of adding more structures to engineers like HMG emplacements or other defenses? Also, can map reworks factor in placing structures in brackets, hint, hint, Stalingrad?
Yes, so that does fall into the expectations of the map refresh, right? That's something we do want to address. As I said earlier, I do play engineer, and Stalingrad is one of the current worst ones for trying to place engineer structures, which is interesting considering how flat it is in places. But yeah, absolutely. We will try and address that as much as we can with the refresh. And in terms of adding to engineer, again, yeah, open to suggestions. I do want to expand the engineer. I think it's in a good place right now, but it could always be better. We should try and make it as versatile as we can. Yeah, let's get a suggestions board in for it. We'll take a look at it.
Amazing. Next question comes from Sweet Souvenir. As I'm assuming this is about controller players and button remapping.
what's the question? Sorry.
Will it be possible to have specific buttons?
It would be a Jenks question, I suppose, more than anything else. I was going to say I had one thing, Jenks, which was the compliance behind it is very, very strict for different platforms, especially with the amount of different controls on Hell. There's a reason that it has been set up historically as it has been. But Jenks, you were messing around with it. I'm going to
yeah. Obviously, with some of the free look stuff in the past, we were considering, having sort of an open controller map system where, you could sort of assign whatever controls you want to any of the inputs. It's obviously a lot trickier in practice with how Hell Let Loose works, but it's definitely something that we could look at with the code team. If enough community members sort of want that thing and there's a drive for it, yeah, why not? Let's take a look.
Absolutely. A question I saw in the chat, which was interesting. This comes up quite often as well in our suggestions, is the Italians and the Italian front. I have a very vested interest in this. I'm a big fan of Italy as a country. Sniper Elite 4 is probably one of my favorite games. I just love the architecture, the look and feel of Italy. I think something like that in Hell Let Loose would be fantastic. And that is certainly something that we will look to see if we could do as part of a roadmap 1 year. Definitely not 2025. I think we could safely rule that one out. But for future roadmaps, why not? It'd be great to
Imagine if we
explore it.
came out of left field, Carl, and it wasn't on the roadmap now. It's like, you know what, we just dropped. There you go.
I wouldn't dream of going left field, Craig. It's not in my nature.
Free look was a complete left field. It was like, yeah, and there's free look.
I mean, this looks like it's a question that a lot of people are trying to spam right now. So if we can just refrain from spamming, I can see it. It's, can you give Command his own 3-man squad, lock half tracks to commanders, rework the tactical map to make it clearer for casual/new players, where Garys can be built relative to supplies and existing Garys? I can see a lot of people asking that question.
I can see the cogs turning, Jenks.
Yeah, the cog's definitely turning. Again, we can spec something out. We can take a look if that is something that has demand for it, and the community are really into it. I think that's probably the key thing, right? Like, the key path to go down is we want to be community driven. We want suggestions coming in, improving the game all the time. Why not? Let's take a look.
We previously had the functionality to lock the half track as well, just to
We
squad
did.
lead, correct? We removed because we'd PTE'd that as well, but it didn't work exactly how the players wanted it. So I suppose it's worth noting that down, Ben, of exactly how players envision that working. So when Jenks looks at it, he can take a gander.
Amazing. Well, that goes, I think, back to that sort of final question we had during the normal PTEs. For the community here, make sure that you're using those suggestion forums within the Discord, the Reddit, and just make sure that you're sharing with the team what your thoughts are, because as we've heard a lot tonight, they are listening, they are looking. And I think that's probably quite a nice place for us to end this evening. I'd like to say thank you again for all of you for being here tonight, for tuning into our first live stream. Has anybody got any final thoughts that they'd like to share before we head off? It doesn't look
Don't
like...
say anything, Carl. Don't do it.
I'm looking at Jack Jenkins, but I'm not saying it.
I was waiting for Carl to say something.
Well, I think that's everything for tonight. A reminder that we are going to be back next week with the Tobruk community Q&A. Be sure to ask lots of questions in the Discord, where I will be dropping another Q&A question forum. We'll also be obviously dropping one on Reddit as well. But for now, thank you again for everybody. I am actually going to drop a raid to somebody after this. So for those of you, there's still 560 of you still here. I'm going to drop a raid to somebody. It'd be great for you to stick around, support who I'm going to be raiding. But thank you again. And I look forward to seeing you all again next Friday. Bye.